A declining hegemon is prone to hubris. He is very prone to imperial overstretch and strategic overreach. That is precisely what we are seeing the United States do just now. They launched a very effective tactical operation to kidnap President Maduro and his wife and get them back in handcuffs to the United States. The Americans suffered no losses, just one MH-60 helicopter damaged. But the Venezuelans have suffered over 100 killed, civilians, military, including 32 Cubans. It was a very easy operation. America chooses its enemies with great care. It only chooses weak military powers, military pushovers, which it can make an example out of, treat as a whipping boy to frighten the rest of the world. It's done nothing against the peer group military competitors directly, like the Russians, like the Chinese, and I don't think America will be in any mood to take them on in their own backyards. So we are seeing a new multipolar world order in which America is the principal hegemon in its own backyard. It can capture Venezuela, Cuba, Peru, what have you, Colombia in a row. It is threatening to do just that, right? And bulldoze its way through, smash and grab operations, buccaneer style operations. The law of the jungle now prevails in international relations. Rule-based order, etc. is just now a monumental joke. So what should India do in such a situation? Well, India needs to build up its military muscle at the fastest rate possible. We are already too late. We lost a decade, a golden decade in the times of the Congress, when not a single jet fighter was brought. Today we are at a sad impasse where the Air Force, Indian Air Force, is down to 29 squadrons. Pakistan has 25 squadrons, and the Indian Air Force is required to deal with the China, Pakistan, Bangladesh threat combined. We need 60 squadrons. And we are going down, down, down. So we have to arrest this decline. The situation has reached crisis proportions. We need to double our defense spending. As of now, we haven't even spent the capital allocation for the year 25-26. But hopefully some very major deals are in the offing. So let's take a look at these deals first. There is the French president who is going to come, and possibly a deal for 114 Rafale aircraft could well be signed, along with 26 Rafale M maritime aircraft for operating from our aircraft carriers. So along with this deal, the French, it is said, have agreed to customize and fit our Indian weapons like the Astra, like the BrahMos, etc. onto the Rafales. That was the basic problem. They were not sharing their source codes, etc. Now they have agreed they themselves will integrate our weapons with this. And one of the best things India has done is create its own integrated command and control networks. You see, we don't have to now plug into the NATO standard of the Americans. The Americans, if they want to sell you their F-15s, if they want to sell you F-18 Hornets, they want to sell to you F-35s, they want you to get integrated into their command and control network, which is a no-go for us. They don't want to transfer technology, they will not allow production in India. Well, the Rafale is allowing production in India. 60% production will be done in India with the Tata Advanced Systems. This is a deal worth about $18 billion or 1.50 lakh crores. It is overdue. In simple terms, it is overdue. Next, we take a look at the Indian Navy. The problem area was our submarine fleets. We had 6 Scorpions. There were talk that we would go in for another 6 more because that would make common sense of the same class. But then they don't have the air independent propulsion fully ready as yet. So India has decided to go in for the Thyssen group of Germany, and we will be going in for their Type 214 air independent diesel electric submarines, 6 of them. AIP submarines, very low sound signature, etc. Very quiet submarines, very lethal, and we need the AIP technology. So I think this should be the last of the foreign submarines that we are going to buy, at least in the diesel electric class. We are going to make our own nuclear powered Arihant class, the 4th submarine, and that should shortly be joining the Indian Navy. The 3rd is already under trials and will soon be integrated. This deal will be worth $8 billion. So India is going in for some mega deals. We are trying to catch up very desperately. That is the need of the hour, right? The Rafales actually will replace the Mirage 2000 aircraft, 3 squadrons worth, and the Jaguars. A number of squadrons of the Jaguars, 5 to 6 squadrons, they will be replaced by the Rafales. That still leaves us the 5th generation fighters. Now we are going in for the AMCA. France has agreed to sell to make the Safran engines, transfer of technology, 112 kilonewtons, which will power the LCA Mark II, which will power the AMCA, right? But AMCA is a project that could easily take 10 years. Pakistani Air Force pilots are already in China training on the J-35s. So it would be a great joke if Pakistan introduces the 5th generation fighters ahead of India and takes a lead over the Indian Air Force. As it is, the Chinese have some 300 5th generation fighters. They've gone in for the 6th generation also. They have a huge bloody lead over India. Now we are going to allow a lead to Pakistan. What are we going to wait for next? That for Bangladesh to catch up? I don't know. What this Pacific thinking is all about. It has done us great damage in the past. Let's not make the same mistake again. We have to catch up. We have to catch up very fast. We may have to double our defense budget the next year. Double the defense budget the next year. We need at least 2 to 3 squadrons of the Su-57, if not more, depending on how much time the AMCA takes. Depending on how much time the AMCA takes. 10 years is the current slated timeline, but that could easily be crossed. We've seen these things, slippages in these. So we have to be very sure that if we don't get the AMCA in time, we have to have the Su-57. Now whether you go in for 200, as the Russians are saying, is a call that the government has to take. But we need the Su-57 definitely as an interim measure till the AMCA comes in. We also need, we have 2 squadrons of the S-400 pending. Russia has agreed to supply them by next year. We need 5 more squadrons. We need the Khoshab that must come in now so that our Sudarshan Chakra air defense becomes rock solid and leak proof. Not only against Pakistan and China, but even, should the United States decide to go hostile to an extent that they want to interfere in the subcontinent, we should be able to deter them. We should be able to deter them. We'll have to work on that premise that all this talk of the defining partnership of the 21st century, India and United States, is hogwash. The United States has turned patently hostile. It has imposed 50% tariffs, is planning to impose 500% tariffs. Colored revolution, Sri Lanka, Bangladesh, Nepal, attempted one in Ladakh, attempted one in Cookie Land in the northeast. Where will it all end? I think we have to be prepared for the worst case scenario. I don't think there is any reason to panic. The simple fact is that in 1971, India was not a nuclear power, but it had taken on the China, Pakistan, United States combined and broken Pakistan in 2. The Americans had sent their 7th Fleet. Yahya Khan was then a darling of Richard Nixon, but that couldn't save Pakistan from being broken up into two and the creation of Bangladesh. We dared then and we won. We'll have to dare again, because the security scenario in the subcontinent, all that we had achieved in 71 has been undone. India has to restructure subcontinental security. One is also happy to note that indigenous weapon systems are doing very well. We are told that the Bharat Kalyani Forge is likely to win the contract for about 4.5 lakh carbines, which are long overdue. For God's sake, I had seen those carbines in 1971 when I joined, and when I left the army in 2008, the same carbine was in use not only in the army, but also in our paramilitary forces. It's about time that we changed it, and I'm glad that an indigenous gun system, the indigenous carbine, is coming on track. There are also talk of the T-90 Bhishma tanks being upgraded with a 1000 horsepower engine from the Russians, and the T-72 getting from the 750 horsepower to 1000 horsepower engine. These are long overdue, and we have to get on with it. It may be nice to say that we would not like to see wars, but then that is a subjective desire. What we are seeing all around the world is the world going to pieces, the law of the jungle prevailing. And in such circumstances, we should prepare. We should not get worried. We should take advantage. What is sauce for the goose is sauce for the gander. If America can grab hold of Venezuela, threaten to take Canada, Greenland, etc., etc., India can very well invoke the right to protect, to safeguard the Hindu, Christian, Buddhist minorities in Bangladesh. India can very well take hold of the two, enclaves next to the Siliguri corridor, the Rangpur enclave, the Rangpur thumb, cut it off to widen the Siliguri corridor, remove the threat for all times to come, and also take the Chittagong corridor or the Chattogram corridor by slicing operation along the Feni River. If America can do that and get away with it, I don't see any reason why it can't happen here. If China can threaten to take Taiwan, South China Sea, East China Sea, I don't see why India cannot safeguard its own interests in its own backyard. And that is the new trend. Strong military powers are now, declared the law of the jungle in their own backyards. America has said so, that the whole of the Western Hemisphere is our bloody property. We can grab hold of any nation that we like. Russia will not let things pass in its own backyard. Russia just captured 8 American ships, Western ships, in its backyard, with $3 billion worth of cargo. But where will this end? Where will this end? The thing is that the major military powers will now be hegemonic in their own backyards, and that gives an equal right to India. Like I said, what is sauce for the goose is sauce for the gander. We have to prepare. We have very little time and a lot of catching up to do. Jai Bharat, Jai Hind.